Thank you for listening to WZNC LP Bethlehem. This is North Country Community Radio 99.9 FM, streaming online at nococommunityradio.org. This is Amanda McKeen. You're listening to North of Normal. We're on from 10 to noon every Tuesday. And today we have another special guest with us. Her name's Alena Lane of Alena Lane Design. And we are about to have a really interesting discussion together. Just before we came on live, Alena was playing along with the fiddle music.
Air fiddle.
With her air fiddle. But we have some really cool stories to share with you today. So if you're listening, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And if you can't catch the whole thing, don't forget that this is recorded and shared as a podcast after online. So you can follow on social media. You can find me, Amanda McKeen, also Clearview Advantage, and Alena Lane Design. So, Alena Lane.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Amanda.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. I was a little bit nervous when you showed up at 9:51.
I'm so sorry. This is definitely a hidden gem of a studio, emphasis on the hidden.
Yes, it is hidden. It is a little bit hard to find, as some of our guests would probably agree with. So I want to first share with our listeners the reason why North of Normal exists, because we may have some new listeners today. So back in December, I had been for the past year and a half trying to connect here in the community. Even though I've been here for 6 years, I really played along with that hidden role for a while and got tired of it, realized it wasn't serving me anymore. So in an effort to connect with people here in the community, I realized that there were some really amazing people, but that I had to really look for them to find them, and that they weren't really, there wasn't really a platform to showcase these people and how amazing this place is. And so I kind of shelved that idea for a bit because I wasn't really sure how that was going to come together. And probably in May or June, I think it was May, I met with Nate Alberts here at North Country Community Radio. I told him my idea, and he was super pumped. He was like, absolutely, we need more of that. So Nate was so great and helpful, provided training so that I could jump in real quick and start doing this. And it's the first time I've ever been a radio DJ officially, not counting my childhood, but it has been so fun to bring people on and get to know them better. I even get to know them better. When I think I know them, I bring them on and suddenly I learn something new. So it's really fun for me. But I know I've gotten feedback from listeners that they really enjoy getting to know who's here. And so that's really uplifting and encouraging for me, because that's the whole goal, is to highlight the people that live here.
I've been enjoying listening to it.
You have?
I have.
That's good.
I listened to your episode with Marie yesterday, which is funny because I listened to part of it while I was at her gym.
Nice. And I think I saw you there, actually.
I think so. I saw you as I was doing my stretches and getting ready to leave. You had headphones on. I didn't want to bother you. Figured you were in the zone. But
yeah, we were both in the zone.
Knew I was going to see you today.
Yes. Well, Alena, speaking of the gym and seeing you there, I do want to bring up how we met each other, because I don't know how we would have crossed paths otherwise. Back in January, I launched what's called White Mountains Directory, and it's an online directory created for local businesses here in our region to have another place online to live, to be more seen and heard, and to give everybody another ranking on Google, because small businesses have a hard time being seen on Google. You had signed up for the directory. And so I knew about you because of that. I knew of Alena Lane Design, and your photo was on it with your red hair. And I think it was a green logo. Yep. And you're wearing green today.
I do have a favorite color.
Yes. That is the only signal I had of who you were at that point. And, as I created that directory and people were signing up, it was the same for everybody. I was starting to understand who was here, which was fantastic. And then I was at the gym, I don't know if it was like March, maybe February or March, and I saw you from across the way and I recognized your hair. And I said to Maria, I was like, I think that's Alena Lane from Alena Lane Design. And I got so excited. So I actually walked up to you in the middle of a workout, which is probably a faux pas at the gym, but whatever. I did it anyways.
Worth it.
Yeah. And I said, are you Alena? And you said, yes. And so, we introduced ourselves officially, shook hands. I just had the sense that that was a meaningful moment. I did.
I think so.
Did you have that sense?
I will admit, I am very bad at faces. So sometimes when people come up to me and say, oh, hey, Alena, I have this moment of absolute panic that, oh no, I know this person from somewhere and I'm going to mess it up. So I remember looking at you in this absolute blind panic thinking, oh gosh, did we go to college together? Am I about to commit a horrible faux pas? And then you explain, I'm Amanda from White Mountains Directory, and everything suddenly clicked, and there was this overwhelming relief in that moment. But then also it was so neat to be recognized. I had moved up about a year ago to North Country from the Seacoast with a much larger population, and had gotten sort of used to the anonymity there. And that was, I think, a crystallizing moment in my experience in having moved up to North Country of being in this smaller community where people connect more, of being recognized, of being seen, of having these places where our lives overlap in multiple areas. Yes. I had signed up for White Mountains Directory, but also by happenstance, we went to the same gym, which also by happenstance, there, again, overlap there with your last episode, and all these places where things intersect and overlap and our lives interweave.
Yeah.
It was a very neat moment from that perspective.
That's good.
And then later being like, she recognized me. I feel like a celebrity. Feeling a little ego boost.
Yes.
Like, oh, I recognize them.
Yes. That's so good. And that, I felt like I was in the presence of a celebrity in that moment. It was actually...
We don't need to ramp it up that much.
No,
but... I can't cash that check.
You're so humble. The fact that I was able to... It really was... one of the first experiences where I was recognizing somebody in the community made me feel validated too, that hey, I know some more people here.
As soon as you said, I'm Amanda from White Mountains Directory, it was like, yes, I've seen your blog. I've seen your photo on your blog.
Yes.
With the beautiful Winstead blonde hair. I was like, yes, okay. Now that I know the context, everything was like, yes, I do know you.
Yes.
So that was also, there was a reciprocal moment of recognition.
I think so. That's great. So after that, I just had this sense that, especially because I started following you on social and you started posting these videos explaining some of the technical sides of graphic design. And I loved your videos because they were incredibly technical. Well, I say incredibly, probably not technical to you, but to me it was like, wow, she's going into detail here. She's sharing something that shows her expertise. And also, your personality was coming out in it. And it was the videos are very well done. And they're still on your social. So people listening, you should definitely go check out those videos because you just did a very good job at them.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And so I watched those videos and I recognized right away that our businesses kind of could complement each other.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I recognized your skills, your expertise in graphic design, and you know some things that I don't know, and there's a lot I don't know, but I recognized that you were a person that could provide some value, And so I reached out to you, I think it was via email, and I just said, hey, I have an idea. Do you want to get a coffee? And you said yes. And I'm so glad you said yes, because then
I'm so glad I said yes.
Yes. Then there was this domino effect. So what do you remember from that point on?
I remember meeting in Bethlehem for coffee at Place Above the Notch.
Yeah, Place Above the Notch.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And we kind of went over what our respective skill sets were and how they complemented one another and really fit together in puzzle pieces, places where my knowledge kind of tapers off in areas that picked up in your area of expertise, and really kind of brainstormed ways that we could collaborate in a business way. And it's launched a wonderful partnership, one that I've really enjoyed working with so far.
Yeah.
It was also interesting. I remember at one point I got off on some sort of little tangent, and you started laughing and you said, "Oh, you're funny." And I had a moment of, oh no, I've said too much. We've started to ramble here. But thankfully you found it endearing enough that you have had me on a radio show to ramble for an hour. There are times I'm like, Alena, stop talking.
Oh, well, you're free to talk here. We encourage the talking. So, yeah, I think that it wasn't just about the skills, although I appreciate what you just said. It was also about the personalities and just the level of professionalism was just amazing. And so we've been working together, collaborating. And just last week, I ran into a situation and I was like, I'm over my head here. I don't know what to do. And so I just reached out to you and you were like, oh yeah, like I can help you with that. 5 minutes. And it was just like so nice to have you in my back pocket to say, hey, can you help me?
Yeah.
And I think that right there is what makes the North Country so incredibly special, is because we're all just trying to figure stuff out, and we're all we have up here.
Yeah.
And so being able to find people that can help and that you can rely on when you get stuck is really critical.
It really is.
Yeah. So you're one of those people for me.
Well, thank you. I'm glad, likewise.
Yeah. So I want to dive into a little bit more of like how you got here, because you said you lived on the Seacoast for a bit, and you talked about being very hidden here in the North Country, and it sounds like you've only been here, what, a year or two?
A little over a year now.
Okay.
So I'm a New Hampshireite, born and raised. I grew up down in Merrimack County, just outside of Concord. Grew up there. I ended up going to school out in Western Massachusetts for 4 years. Again, stone's throw from lower Vermont.
Yeah.
And then ended up moving to the Seacoast after college and lived there for over a decade. And in that interim, my family had ended up moving up to North Country. And I was realizing I was making this 2-hour drive each way up to Franconia on a regular basis to visit my family and to, see how beautiful it was up here and hike. And at a certain point, I said to myself, what if I just lived up here?
Nice.
What if I didn't drive 4 hours from the Seacoast? And on the one hand, I love the ocean, but I also love the mountains.
Yeah.
As far as your majestic natural feature that inspires awe and existential dread and joy in equal parts.
Dread and joy. I love that.
There's the sense of that vastness that makes you feel small, but in a way that also makes all of the problems of your world feel equally small. Like here is this massive and eternal natural thing that is going to outlast all my BS. and it helps give a sense of perspective, and it's very grounding, I think, for me, whether I'm standing ankle deep in the Atlantic or I'm looking out over these mountains that are older than Saturn's rings. Which the Appalachians are a fun little fact.
Wow, thank you.
Sorry, I love little fun facts. But just gotta scatter that in there. It's I think has been having that time out in nature is very grounding for me. Very helpful for the fact that I am a slightly anxious person. So I was grounding that anxiety and thinking I could just live there. I could just move up there. At that point, my job had gone remote, and it was like, as long as I have an internet connection, and it also allowed me to be closer to my family, who I'm very close with, now physically as well as emotionally. And I ended up going for it. And at the beginning, there was a sense of, oh gosh, what am I doing? I'm insane. You know, I'm going from Portsmouth to a town that's a tenth of the size. And I had this worry that I was going to feel very isolated.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, oh gosh, what if I don't fit in, or I make an idiot of myself as soon as I arrive and everyone hates me for the rest of forever. You know, usual anxiety brain.
Yeah.
It's not rooted in rationality, but it will not shut up. And it's very funny because after a decade of living in the Seacoast compared to a year of living in Bethlehem, I have made more friends in person and found more community and more places where I am a regular, where I walk in and people know me, in 1 year than I had in 10.
Wow.
And it's been amazing. And I want to thank you for being a part of that too.
Oh, I'm so proud to be a part of that. But that is such a cool story, Alena. I'm so glad that you decided to make that move.
Me too. It was a bit of a leap of faith, and it's worked out better than I could have possibly imagined.
Yeah.
Even with the my problem child house and its many challenges for my stoicism. Just saying, I'm being challenged. I'm being challenged to rise to the occasion.
Yes.
By whatever pipe is leaking or whatever, you know.
Didn't you just get like some foundation work done?
Yep. Yep.
Usually when I haven't had any house problems, but when I have things that come up that are unexpected, I'm like, this is an adventure. That's my thing. It's an adventure.
It's an adventure. That's a great. I actually, my mother and I will say that to each other.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was in high school and she was driving me to a college visit, and there had been this huge storm, and it had taken out. Gosh, this was like 2007, and there had been a huge power outage across a good chunk of the state, and so we were driving out to this school. And we were running low on gas, but every gas station we passed didn't have power, so the pumps weren't working. And our gas needle is crawling lower and lower as we're getting further and further, like, out into the mountains in Vermont. Like, it's getting rural. And I'm looking at my mom, like, Mom, what are we doing? What are we doing? And she just smiled at me and said, it's an adventure. And so it's kind of become a running thing that when things go wrong, it's an adventure. And failing that, even if it's terrible in the moment, it's story fuel.
Absolutely.
Because it means that later on, you are going to have one heck of a story to
tell. I love that. That is exactly how I look at it. And I have story fuel from my day yesterday that I'm probably going to write about because it was so amazing. And I thought about it, and, you know, a lot of these situations we find ourselves in up here that are unexpected are anxiety inducing. And you could always look at it as, oh my gosh, like, this is scary. I don't know what's going to happen. Or you could be like, yes, I don't know what's going to happen. This is super exciting.
Surprise ending, Hollywood could never.
Yes. So I think when you look at it from that alternative perspective of adventure, it actually could turn out differently than if you were being anxious and afraid.
Shifts the energy you bring to the situation.
Oh, I love it. It's a good conversation to have. We're going to take a break, but you brought a playlist with you.
I did.
And I really appreciate that. We've got quite a few songs to choose from. Do you have a certain one you want to start with?
You know what? Let's start with Frank Turner.
Frank Turner?
It's one of my favorites.
Okay, let's try Frank Turner. I'm just making sure it's just one song on here.
There's two on there. Take your pick. Flip a coin.
Okay. Oh, this one's called Be More Kind. Let's listen to that one. All right. You are listening to WZNC LP Bethlehem, North Country Community Radio, 99.9 FM, streaming online at nococommunityradio.org. This is Amanda McKeen, and you're listening to North of Normal, and today we have Alena Lane with us as a special guest. Alena and I have been talking about adventures and reframing, you know, the unexpected in our lives as a positive adventure and, you know, a gift, a story to tell, as opposed to something to feel anxious about. And the song we just listened to was by Frank Turner, who I've never heard of before, but it's called Be More Kind. And Alena was just explaining to me why she really liked this song.
So one of the refrains in the song is, in a world that has decided that it's going to lose its mind, be more kind. And we kind of related back to what we've been talking about with reframing, and reframing from, oh, this is a crisis, to, oh, this is an adventure, and how you can shift your perspective and your agency in certain situations. And there are times where it does feel like the world has lost its mind, or where things are incredibly stressful, where there's a lack of kindness sometimes that you're perceiving that can be very stressful. And what can you do about it? Well, we can react and just say, oh, I am upset about this, or we can take some level of agency and say, okay, I'm going to be kind. I'm going to bring kindness. I'm going to bring a shift here. You know, what do I have the power to do? I have the power to go out there and do something to help somebody today, or just, you know, give an extra smile, bring a little positivity into the world. And I think that starts in your own head. And being a little bit kind to yourself.
Yeah, it does start in our own heads. Wise words from Alena Lane.
Only on one cup of coffee so far.
Wow, that's impressive. We were talking about how you ended up here in the North Country, and you made a conscious decision to be here.
I did.
And that's pretty cool.
There was a lot of sort of mental reframing in the entire journey up here, and saying, like, okay, there's a fresh start to be had here. What kind of person do I want to be as I move up here? How do I want to be in my community?
Nice.
How do I want to get involved? And kind of saying, okay, as life is throwing these little catastrophes at me with my foundation and other things, how am I going to choose to react to that? And how am I going to respond and rise to the occasion?
Yeah. So how are you choosing to be involved up here? What are some of the things that you've found?
You and I have both, one of the things that we also connected about is that we both do some work with search and rescue.
Yeah.
You're over at AVSAR, and I kind of fell into a funny role with Penny Valley Search and Rescue. I like to hike. I am not the world's best hiker. I am a very clumsy hiker. If I do not land on my butt at least once, did I really go hiking? I have huge respect for the folks who are out in the field carrying the litter in the dark, in the rain, in these incredible conditions. I would love to someday be fit enough to join them in that. Right now, I fear that I would be a greater liability than an asset in that situation, but I did find a role in which my skills are an asset. Yeah. So I help with a lot of administrative stuff. I helped redesign the website, the brochures. I've stepped into the role of assistant secretary and get to handle the newsletters.
Nice. I've noticed that they've changed a little bit.
Yeah, it was funny. I had previously used that newsletter software for a job and was quite familiar with it. And was like, oh, no, here are the little tricks where you can write some code and put some CSS in here and all this HTML. And the current secretary said, yeah, that's you. How about you just. We'll just let you do that. And he's like, yeah, okay. That's we get together and I do the typing. But no, it was a really neat opportunity that I was given to contribute to the team and be a part of it in a way that I could. And I think sometimes it's easy to focus on what you can't do instead of what you can. Yeah. And this was, okay, I am not I don't think I can at this moment in time. Obviously, life is always changing. Qualify for the team in a physical capacity, but I can assist and I can be a part of this mission in other ways that help and make things easier for the people who are out there.
Yeah,
doing the grueling physical legwork.
Yeah, that's really powerful, because I think there's a mindset of, if you're going to be on a search and rescue team, you have to be a certain person. You have to be this badass, like super fit, like mountaineer, whatever. And I think it's a testament to Pemisar's leadership too, that they would say yes and be open to other ways of people supporting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's really cool. When I found out, I think you made a post about, didn't you have something to do with Pemisar's logo?
So the 20th anniversary of the team was recently.
Yeah.
And Jamie reached out to me about doing a special variant on their logo. I do illustration in addition to graphic design. And I said, would it be possible to have like an illustration of like the team carrying a litter coming out of the logo? I said, yeah, give me a day. And I ended up coming up with this illustration, and we tweaked it through a few rounds, and it ended up going on T-shirts.
Nice.
And some of the team swag for Pemisar to celebrate 20 years of the team in action.
Yeah.
And it was really fun, and it was really cool to see something that I had drawn being worn by people who I have huge respect for. So.
Yeah, what does that feel like when you see that logo and you see the whole team? Like, we were just at a picnic a couple weeks ago. What does that feel like to know that you were the one that created that?
It feels good.
Yeah.
I may have done a little dorky dance at home. Thank God this is an audio only media, and no one could see me doing this. Please imagine the dorkiest dance. No, it was a very cool feeling. I mean, like, obviously this is a cosmetic thing. It's, a T-shirt isn't saving lives, but it's still, doing a little bit of morale and being able to celebrate the team and be a part of that was an honor. Yeah,
and actually, I don't want this to get underplayed, because the visual is so important to all human beings. Like, I recognized you from your face, right? People are going to recognize that logo. They're going to see that, and it means something. So it's not just some aesthetically pleasing thing.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't underplay logo design, given I do that as my job. Maybe undercutting myself a little bit. Thank you for bringing that around. No,
sure.
I mean, in this particular con, it was a celebratory variant of the original logo, which has been around in a couple different permutations for the last 20 years. I can't take credit there, but I'm honored to have been allowed to play in that sandbox, as it were.
Okay.
And work on that variant, and work on the website and be a part of how Pemi shows its face to the world.
Yeah. So you've been part of Pemi for how long now?
I think I became an official support member this past year. I had been doing some kind of other additional work a little bit for a year before then, before the decision was made to make by the board to affirm me as a support member, which I was very honored by.
Awesome.
And I started this past spring helping as an assistant secretary.
Love it. Yeah.
It's a really amazing group of people, not just in what they do as a search and rescue, but just you get to know people and their stories and what they do, and you have this incredible mix of people of different backgrounds and different skills, and they're all so driven.
Yes.
There is just this passion and this drive, and it's inspiring.
It is.
It's the energy, like at the cookout and getting to talk to these people and all the things that they're doing. It's like, wow, I need to get out and do more.
It's a lot of doing, definitely. But there's also a lot of being as part of that. It takes very kind and compassionate hearts to show up over and over again for that kind of work. And So it's like when you are part of a search and rescue team, it is such a privilege and an honor to find all of those people in one place.
Agreed.
Yeah. So yeah, that cookout was really fun. So what else do you find yourself doing in the community here?
Oh, I know where this is going. No, I mean, there are an amazing number of community events happening all the time. I'm looking up in the studio and seeing the poster for Littleton First Fridays and reminding myself I have that on my calendar for Friday.
Nice.
There's things happening with live concerts outside all the time. The Bethlehem gazebo concerts, and try to catch one or two of those.
Oh, do you go to those?
I'm bad at remembering to go, even though it's 3 minutes down the road from me.
Yeah.
I need to go more, but one of the times I've gone, they've been wonderful. It's so
cool.
much fun. Something I do go to very regularly are the Nerd Out Nights at Reckless.
Nerd Out Nights at Reckless.
Nights every other Monday. At the Pint House at Reckless is Nerd Out Night, where people get together and play board games, Magic the Gathering, tabletop role-playing games. And I remember as I was moving up, my father, who lives up here in Franconia, had sent me a Facebook post and about this event and said, "Oh, this is your kind of weird thing." Here's the nerd stuff you're into. Your people are here. And I won't lie, that was a big incentive to be like, yeah, no, I want to be up here.
Nice.
There's nerds. For context, I am a huge nerd. I have been playing Dungeons and Dragons since I was 13 years old.
Dungeons and Dragons. I got to tell you, I've never played it.
It is a lot of fun.
Okay.
I used to collect comic books, all of these very kind of geek culture things. So I remember showing up one day and saying, "Hey, I'm not signed up for a table here. Is it okay if I just sit and watch?" And some folks who already had a pretty full table said, "Yeah, no, hey, do you want to roll up a character? Like, do you have dice?" And me being a never prepared nerd, pulled my polyhedral dice out of my purse and said, "Oh, well, if you insist." And
really?
I do.
You had dice in your purse?
I come prepared. I carry my 10 essentials when I go hiking. I carry a dice in my purse when I go to Nerd Out Night. Be prepared.
That's awesome.
And it's funny, there's a lot of those people who were at that table that I dropped in on a year later, I still play with, and made some great friends that way. So I was actually running a game there last night that was very fun, very silly. Had a great time.
What game?
So this was a tabletop role-playing game. So just to give a little context, tabletop role-playing games, or TTRPGs.
TTRPGs.
Yeah, if you want to make it slightly shorter, I guess. Their style of game, you usually play with pen and paper and some dice, where it's a collaborative storytelling game. So it's not a game where one person wins and everybody else loses, so much as each person has a character that they have in this game, who they get to control their actions through different, stats and abilities and things you have written down on a piece of paper, and you roll a die to see, add an element of chance of whether you succeed or fail on what you're trying to do. And so you have a group of people who are all controlling their character, and then one person, the game master, who's sort of controlling everything else in this world, all the other variables that aren't your group of intrepid adventurers who are trying to accomplish some goal. And then it's a story that unfolds about you trying to complete a quest or an objective. Dungeons and Dragons is probably the most famous and well-known TTRPG. It's been around since the 1970s. It's one where you've got like elves and dwarves and orcs and wizards and dragons and dungeons, I guess. as one might assume. But there are plenty of other smaller TTRPGs out there in different genres, Western ones, sci-fi ones.
Ooh, I'd like the sci-fi ones. Yeah.
The one I was running last night was particularly silly. This was a very rules-light one. The rules fit on a single sheet of paper as opposed to in multiple books the way you have in Dungeons & Dragons. Like I said, I've been playing since I was 13, and I still have to look up the rules. This was a very silly one called Crash Pandas, where you play as a group of raccoons who are trying to race a car while you are all driving simultaneously. So one person has to sit on the accelerator, one person has to grab the steering wheel. It is built for maximum silliness. Okay. It was a very silly evening.
Good.
The story that we ended up telling was absolutely absurd, but everyone had a very fun time. Yeah. Which is really the objective, is that you get a group of friends together, you tell a story, and you have fun. So there's an element of math, there's an element of live theatrical improv.
I love that.
And, you kind of have to think on your feet and react. And sometimes the dice do something you didn't expect. And you just have to figure out, okay, what happens next? So it's a very creative, heavy exercise. You have to think on your feet. There's an element of collaboration and cooperation.
Yeah.
At a certain point, my players were like, okay, if my raccoon climbs on top of your raccoon's shoulders, they might be able to jimmy open this lock. I'm like, okay, roll to see if you jimmy open the lock. Again, absolutely ridiculous. This probably sounds baffling to
It does
people.
sound baffling, but I had no idea that existed. And that sounds really fun.
It really is. I mean, there's a lot of video games that have been built kind of on this model.
Okay.
People are familiar with World of Warcraft or Baldur's Gate, very popular games that are very kind of structured after D&D, but part of it, the thing that I enjoy is sitting at a table or even being on a Discord call with your friends and, just making stuff up together.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about storytelling. I know this is a conversation you and I have had off air, that I love telling stories. I love telling, whether it's anecdotes or, telling a story in the form of a tabletop game or, the way we tell stories in our work with branding and with, design and identity for businesses and, individuals. So.
Yeah.
It all kind of ties together.
It does tie together. I'm just seeing all of this alignment now that you're talking. I had no idea that those tabletop games were such a big thing. But
yeah, it's a great community, and it's they have other things. If you just want to show up and play a board game, they've got apples to apples. They've got all kinds of things going on. So it is something where people can drop in, and your level of nerddom can vary.
It can.
Yes.
Okay, so I could show up and have a good time?
If you showed up for a one-shot at one of my tables, I would introduce you from the ground up.
Okay.
I have onboarded plenty of people who have never played before.
Wow. You get onboarded. That's pretty official.
Okay, that's maybe just my terminology. But,
it's very professional.
Maybe we're crossing some of our professional and social wires. But no, just introducing people to the game for the first time in a way that's hopefully not too intimidating.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I think I might check it out, actually. Yeah. When's the next one?
So 2 weeks from
2 weeks?
Yesterday.
Is it every 2 weeks?
Just about.
Okay. Sounds iffy. Is it every 2 weeks, or is it random? Or
every
what?
now and then there's a holiday or something, I think.
Okay.
But generally, it's every 2 weeks.
There's some more things that I want to ask you about. I heard recently that you summited Mount Washington. But before we get to that story, we're going to take a quick music break.
Ooh.
What song do you want to... What artist should we play next?
Oh, gosh. I don't even remember what I've put on the playlist right now.
How about... I'm Gonna Be by the Proclaimers.
Oh, that seems fitting.
It does, right? All right, we'll be right back, guys. Thanks for listening. Welcome back. This is WZNC LP Bethlehem, North Country Community Radio, 99.9 FM, streaming online at nococommunityradio.org. This is Amanda McKeen. You're listening to North of Normal, and I have Alena Lane here with me. We have been enjoying a wonderful conversation over this past hour. Alena, you're going to tell me about your recent adventure up Mount Washington, which wasn't actually the plan.
It wasn't the plan.
No, but let's talk about that.
All right. So I feel like I need to give a little background context, which is that I had not hiked until 2019. I did my very first hike as an adult, not just, it doesn't count when you're a kid. Kids just bounce up mountains. they just, that doesn't count. You're small. You don't have any body weight to carry. You just ping pong up there.
Yes.
Now, as an adult, the first time I'd really gone hiking was in 2019, and it was up Mount Willard, which, for anyone not familiar, is not a difficult mountain. Mountain might be generous, and it kicked my butt. I was, fighting for my life as, toddlers are skipping past me up this mountain, rubbing salt into the wound. My friend and I decided, we're gonna, why don't we go for a hike? That would be a fun way to, thing to do while she's visiting me from New York. And we finally got to the top of this mountain, just gasping for breath. And we're like, okay, that was really hard. We were told this was an easy mountain. This didn't feel easy.
Yeah.
And so that was the first hike I did as an adult, and I only did one that year. And then the next year, I think I did Mount Major. Over time, started to do a couple more hikes again when my friend came to visit. She said, "Well, that was actually really fun. Let's do another one." So I kept doing research for when my friend from New York City was coming up to visit me to say, okay, well, I have to prepare stuff. And it was actually very funny because living in New Hampshire all my life, there are so many New Hampshire things that I just didn't do much or hadn't done since I was a very young child. Because when it's there all the time, it's like, yeah, why would I go do that? Like, it's nothing special. Like, it's right there, and you kind of take it for granted.
Yeah.
And then you just don't do it. But then suddenly, when you have to entertain somebody who's visiting, and you're looking at, what things are there to do here? It makes you think about it again. Like, we're doubling back to reframing and perspective. Yeah. You say, oh wait. Like, we could go do the flume. We can go to the basin. We can go do all these things and check out these hikes and these beautiful things and Clark's Bears. And, there's stuff happening. There's neat stuff to go check out. And, at first we covered all, like, the really baseline touristy stuff. And then we started going a little bit, a little further afield. And I started hiking a lot more, even when my friend wasn't visiting. And by 2022, I was hiking quite a bit. I had an incident with my apartment in Portsmouth where my upstairs neighbor had left a toilet backed up and running for about 8 hours. So I came home one evening and it was raining from my ceiling all the way through my unit and into the poor person below me. So it took quite a while for the water damage to be remediated. And in that time, I actually ended up moving back up with family in Franconia for a summer, which resulted in some amazing hiking.
Yeah.
Right up until I fell and broke my leg.
You broke your leg while you were hiking?
Yep. It's funny. It always happens I always fall not on the difficult parts, but like right after. Like I get overconfident. I'm like, yeah, no, that was fine. I'll be on flat ground and I'll suddenly roll an ankle. I was coming down Mount Avalon and...
Oh, that is a terrible trail.
And I slipped on some loose scree. My leg went up behind me. I went down hard. I heard a crunch and I immediately said, I just broke my leg, only with significantly more expletives that I can't say on morning radio.
Thank you.
And it sucked. I had, at the time, I'd managed to fall down in front of, and this is very funny how often this seems to happen, a medical professional who fell in front of a doctor from Mass General on his day off, who looked at it and said, well, this might just be a really bad sprain, and wrapped it for me. And telling myself it was just a really bad sprain, I walked out.
You did? No way.
I broke my fibula, which is not the load bearing of the two bones in your lower leg. Most of the weight goes on the tibia, and the fibula is more kind of balance, support.
Yeah.
I have no medical background. I could be very wrong on this, but this is my understanding from what I could move.
Yeah.
It was very unpleasant, but I ran into these two good Samaritans these two guys who were going up the trail, and they had kind of stopped for a break. And I was hiking that morning with my mom, and we had just gotten a really early start. So this happened at like 9:30 in the morning.
So your mom was with you?
My mom was with me.
Okay.
My mom had taken my pack from me. She couldn't do a whole lot. My mother is a very, very tiny person, and I am not. So, I was just trying to lead on my trekking poles, and we ran into these two older gentlemen who were on a vacation, had your colleagues who had just decided to go out north for a weekend. And they were amazing. They offered to, one of them took the backpack from my mom, and they were kind of holding my elbows to help, support me a little bit, because my balance was gone. I could not balance on that leg whatsoever. And, we're trying to find flat places for me to step because I couldn't angle my foot, guided me across these water crossings. And the whole time they were bantering and cracking jokes and getting me to laugh, which made me not focus on how wildly unpleasant it is to walk on a broken leg.
Oh my God.
No, they were absolutely wonderful. And I ended up going to Littleton Urgent Care, and they took some x-rays, and I remember sitting in the room. The doctor comes back. He has my x-ray on an iPad, and he just sits down wordlessly and holds it up, turns it to me. And I go, "Is that good?" He says, "You see these two bones here? Yeah? That's supposed to be one bone." So not good. No, not good. They splinted me until I could get to the orthopedist the next day.
Nice.
And that definitely put a dent in my hiking for a couple of months. But, part of me was like, I still really want to do this. And then I went and did a hike in November and was like, yeah, no, I do. I missed this. I missed this when I couldn't do it. And that was when I realized I'd kind of fallen in love with hiking.
Nice.
Was that even after, having, hiking on a broken leg, 0 out of 5 stars, not a fun activity, do not recommend. But apart from that, and at the same time, the absolute kindness of the people that I ran into on the trail, the strangers who were stopping and handing me ibuprofen, who were offering, bandages or anything that they might have had in their pack, who were ready to turn around and abandon their own hike to help me down. And, it did not occur to me to call search and rescue at this point, which this is kind of the situation that they are there for.
Yes.
But at the same time, that sense of community and that sense of kindness, of people just kind of coming out of the woodwork to say, hey, even when I had gotten back to my apartment, my neighbors noticed that I was on crutches and started bringing in my mail from the mailroom for me, so I didn't have to go downstairs completely without me saying a word. It was, this reaffirmation that people are pretty good. People are pretty kind. People, when they see the opportunity, are often, people are cool. So that was kind of where I started off hiking. So I am a clumsy hiker, as we have established my credentials as a clumsy hiker. I tend to go at a scenic pace, but
scenic.
I've been,
okay.
That's what we're calling it.
Okay.
And not gasping for breath anytime there's an incline. So I've been working on my 48. I'm only 12 in, but
that's great, Alena.
It's been, I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun. This is a thing that I'm doing for me, not necessarily to. I don't have anything to prove, but like I said, I really love being in the mountains. So I had, the other week the weather was looking pretty good, and my father and I go hiking a lot. He's much faster than I am.
He's very spry.
Oh my God, that man's going to live forever. Love him dearly. We decided to go hiking. We planned on hiking Mount Monroe. So we went up the Ammonoosuc Trail, and we got us to the Lake of the Clouds hut. And he said, so if you want to do the big one, we can. You do not have to. If you just want to go up and down Monroe, call it a day, we're good. But if you want to do the big one, we're not doing Monroe first. And I looked at it, and he said, it's farther away than you think. Because, you know, you get to the tree line, close. And it does.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is just the optical illusion of the lack of trees.
It's just a giant rock pile, and you can't really tell how big the rocks are.
Yeah. I looked at it and I'm like, I kind of want to do the big one. And there's zero pressure. It was just, if you want to do it, we can. And it was the most perfect day. It was 70 degrees, not humid, sunny. There were no clouds on that summit. And like, I drive through Crawford Notch a fair amount. I am used to looking up on a perfect bluebird day, and somehow the only clouds there are all on the summit of Mount Washington. So looking up to that summit and seeing it be perfectly clear and thinking, when am I going to get this lucky? Like, this is the perfect day if I were going to do it.
Yeah.
And doubling back to the fact that I am an anxious person, I had not had time to get up in my head about this.
That's
because
right.
the plan, I had not woke up that morning thinking, oh God, I have to climb Mount Washington. Okay, that morning thinking, okay, I'm going to climb Mount Monroe. And it wasn't until we got to Lake of the Clouds that it was like, wait, okay, I don't have time to panic about this. We're just going to start up that trail. And we did. And we got to the top and had our sandwiches.
You got a picture with your dad at the sign?
A different sign. We went out to the one around back because the line for the official sign was...
whatever.
Oh, my goodness.
It's always like that. Unless you go in winter. That'll be your...
That's step 2.
Yeah, step 2.
I do love winter hiking.
It is good.
It's wonderful. I'm one of those weirdos. I think I almost prefer winter hiking to summer hiking.
I would tend to agree with you, but we're digressing here.
So yeah, we did Mount Washington, and then
did you go back down Ammonoosuc?
Yep.
Oh no.
Yep.
Why?
That's a very good question.
I got to ask your dad. I'm assuming he made that decision.
He really likes that trail.
Does he?
He really does.
Coming down it? No, thank you. That's tough.
Yeah, no, it was. There was definitely several instances where I was just like, you know what, we're butt scooting. We're just sitting down and treating this like a playground slide. I don't have to do this with any dignity. I just have to do it.
Yeah.
And did make my way down in one piece and was limping for 2 days later.
Yeah, but were you actually like up and moving around, or were you just like part of your couch for 2 days? Because
so the very next morning, I got up out of bed, I swung my legs off the side of the bed, and I stood up, and I immediately face planted on the floor.
Yep.
I did make it around my house, and if I had to go up and down the stairs for something, and I may have been audibly whimpering a little bit. I'm home alone. I can be pathetic if I want to.
That's right.
No, but I'm so glad I did it. It was definitely a confidence booster of saying, okay, I did the big one. Like, the other ones in the state are smaller than that. That means I can do them. I may be a little bit useless the day after, but I can do it. And it was a really fun experience, this father-daughter thing, to spend some quality time with my dad. And madman that he is.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
I think the next day he went out and climbed Moby Grape. So
he's like nonstop.
Oh my goodness! I take after my mother. No, so that was my Mount Washington adventure, and I'd seen that you had also posted on social media about going out and having outdoor adventures and sore legs after that weekend, so we bonded. Same
weekend, we were both crippled.
It was rough, but it was worth it.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you had that experience. I think there's a lot of people that you were talking about how we're just used to seeing things and used to being here, and it doesn't seem as special. Yeah. But then, you know, when you have someone new come that you need to show around, all of a sudden it's like, oh, let me show you this magical place. And the fact that you've done Washington now, I feel like that's kind of like sealed your status here in the North Country.
I've got my mountain cred.
You do. Alena, we are up on an hour here, and I'm just so glad that you came and shared with us today. You have a lot of good stories to tell, and I feel like there are so many more that you need to tell, and we just don't have time today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Would you be interested in coming back sometime?
Sure.
Awesome.
Now that I know where it is, and
now that you know,
come in at the last second again. Thank you for being patient with me there.
You're welcome. Final things before we go. I wanted to give everyone a heads up of our next guest next week. Janie from Pantry Posies is going to be with us. Do you know Janie?
I don't.
You don't? Okay. Janie lives in Easton, and she is the flower lady. She's got all of these amazing flowers every year. If you guys haven't met her yet, she is somebody to know. She has such a character. So we're going to be talking next Tuesday together at 10 a.m. If you guys want to tune in, we would appreciate you listening. And if you can't make it during that time, don't forget that this is recorded. So you can always go to clearviewadvantage.com/podcast to catch up on what you missed. Alena, thanks again for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we're gonna listen to your music for the rest of this next hour. So
okay.
Thanks for the playlist.